Thank you. Larry, you're always so good at that. Welcome, students, staff, community members, faculty, and a particularly warm welcome to the guests today this sculpture honors. Siri Holland and Dr. Gill Holland, Professor of English Emeritus. Their contributions as educators, mentors, poet, and friends have changed the lives of so many here today and so many on the campus at Davidson. I'm Court Savage, sculptor, professor, and chair of the art department at Davidson. Campus sculpture began at Davidson in 1993 with the addition of Auguste Rodin's Jean d'Are in the atrium of the Catherine and Tom Belk Visual Arts Center, setting an extraordinarily high bar for the transformative impact sculpture can have on our campus. And that impact has grown into a collection of inspiring works by artists from across the globe located across our campus. Hopefully we all agree that our newest sculpture, Zhan Wang's Artificial Rock number 119, is a spectacular work that has found its way into an equally spectacular collection of campus sculpture. Unfortunately, COVID complications prevent the artist from joining us in our celebrations in person today. However, he did forward us a wonderful video, and I hope that you'll have a chance to take a look at it in the McKay Atrium sometime today. Now, I have some more unfortunate news. This may be the first work of visual art in our sculpture collection that, ironically, you will never fully see. Instead, you'll have to experience its form and the mirroring and how those reflections will be forever shifting. Zhan Wang's Artificial Rock number 119 finds its inspiration in the ancient scholar rocks of China's Tang Dynasty, which personified mountain landscapes, openness, and a site for contemplation of eternal wisdoms. But also, this sculpture's contemporary, polished and refracting stainless steel surface references a state of constant change and ephemeral flux. In one moment, its form appears defined and comprehensible, but at the instant we move slightly, or the light itself changes slightly, or even the surroundings alter slightly, the sculpture presents anew in ever greater complexity. In the presence of this sculpture, the very idea of remaining static ceases to be a possibility. And this is where great art and great artists parallel our educational mission at Davidson. Our goal on this campus is to engage intersecting disciplines, fields of study, and throw ourselves into them with the wide-eyed wonder, unbound creativity, and the joyful intellectual curiosity of a child. At the same time, we rigorously engage in the complications of universes of uncertainty, change, contradiction, a multitude of viewpoints, where we encounter our own biases, shifting awareness, and even our own stark brevity. We are invited to search unflinchingly both the external world and our internal selves, to engage the wisdom of generations as well as our own individual resilience of spirit, and be humbled as human beings along the way. Artificial Rock number 119 is Davidson College. It challenges us with an infinity of uncertainties to better reveal to us a universe full of infinite possibilities. Now I'd like to welcome another member of our faculty, Dr. Rosalind Kyo, Assistant Professor of Art and Chinese Studies. Dr. Kyo's research and teaching focus on Chinese and Tibetan transcultural engagement, artistic processes, the representation of minorities and women in Chinese visual culture, and the role of visual arts in the conception of national space and identity.
everyone for being here today for the dedication of this sculpture. Though there have been many exhibitions at the Van Avery Smith galleries in the recent years to highlight Asian and Asian American artists, Zhan Wang's sculpture marks the first sculpture in the campus sculpture program. So this is a pivotal event. First, I'd like to give you some background on Zhan Wang as an artist and the motivation of his artistic practice. He's a photographer, video artist, and a sculptor based in Beijing. Zhan was born in 1962 in Beijing and first trained at the Beijing Industrial Arts College before continuing in his studies to focus on sculpture at the Central Academy of Fine Arts in Beijing, which is the top art school in Beijing. His earlier works are precursors to his artificial rock series, especially his installation Urban Landscape, which took everyday objects made out of stainless steel objects, stainless steel materials, and then arranged them to mimic cityscapes. Zhan wanted to critique the rapid urbanization in China in the early 2000s for these installations. So as Zhan wrote for this installation, he wrote, "By trying to reach a level of Western-oriented modernization, we are destroying the continuity of our own tradition." His best-known series, Artificial Rock, which is what our sculpture today belongs to, Zhan continues contemplating on and critiquing the loss of tradition as he creates a facsimile of a real garden rock. His process molds stainless steel sheets onto garden and scholars' rocks to cast copies of the original object in empty form. So just keep in mind that the original rock is not inside, so please don't go climbing on it. It's actually very lightweight. So why did he choose garden rocks and scholars' rocks? It's a good question, right? He's trying to pull from a long tradition, almost 2,000 years old, of Chinese aesthetics. Since the Han Dynasty in the 3rd century BCE to the 3rd century current era, collecting special rocks to embellish gardens was already an established, refined practice to reflect one's aesthetic tastes among scholars and people of upper socioeconomic classes. Famous rocks were appreciated for their unusual or qi characteristics, strange, guai, and interesting, yi characteristics. And they could be composed of different materials, such as sandstone, which is the most common material, malachite, turquoise, soapstone, and quartz. They were sometimes arranged in groups to mimic mountain ranges, but larger rocks, such as the one we have here, were displayed alone so that they could be appreciated for all of its forms and abstract qualities. By the Song Dynasty in the 10th to 13th century, the connoisseurship of scholars' rocks came into vogue. Scholars' rocks are smaller versions of garden rocks, which could be displayed in a scholar's studio or home. Connoisseurs would appreciate the attenuated proportions to imitate soaring peaks. They would attend to the textured, perforated surfaces, and you can see some of those perforations here. That suggests age and antiquity. And finally, they would contemplate the overlapping layers and planes that imply depth of field. So truly, you're looking at a microcosm of a universe. The importance of the intersection between art and nature should not be overlooked here, as the garden rocks and scholar rocks were formed by thousands of years of water's wear upon stones to create fantastical shapes, such as the one we see here. So finally, the most important question for us is, why is this sculpture so fitting for the Davidson campus and such an apt choice? These rocks are an art form that encouraged seeing and considering the vast natural world and society from different points of view. It is especially fitting that Zhan's work has been added to our campus where we encourage and invite our students to consider topics from different points of view, to contemplate how local action can have global impact, so from the macrocosm to the macrocosm, and to appreciate the long-term evolution of natural form that are now endangered by the impact of human action. It is also a sculpture, as our student speaker today will explain, that signals inclusion and appreciation of Chinese aesthetics and culture with a contemporary twist. Sarah Zhang, or Zhang Yunyue, an art history major who hails from Shanghai, is in her third year here at Davidson. In addition to her coursework and assisting me in my research, she's also an active member of the Davidson and Arts and Creative Engagement Council. She also writes regularly for the Van Avery Smith Gallery website. So please welcome Zhang Yunyue, Sarah Zhang.
Hi everyone. I'm extremely glad to see everyone here for the dedication of the sculpture. When I saw the picture of the new sculpture last spring, I was surprised. The rock, even in its metallic guise, radiates a sense of literati sentiment and moral qualities that I have been long acquainted with through traditional Chinese ink paintings. At that point, I hadn't been back home for almost 2 years due to the pandemic. The travel restrictions between the US and China led to a dramatic decrease in the number of available plane tickets and to skyrocketing prices. The 12-hour time difference also made it impossible for me to take online classes from home. It seemed odd at first glance that an object evoking so many memories of home would travel such distance and stand on this campus. But besides this slight oddity, Zhan Wang's sculpture carries in its flowing form a momentum that truly reflects the present time. We're living during a time of confusion and a time of change. Two major aspects of our experiences are changing: our relationship with the environment and social interaction. The pandemic has challenged our preconceived idea about the relationship between the environment and humans. The traditional scholar's rock, sculpted by the brilliant hands of nature, resembles an imagined mountain landscape, a microcosm of the universe that extends beyond the confines of the scholar's garden. With rapid urbanization around the world, nature only seems to be getting further beyond our grasp. But Zhan Wang has redefined what it means to be natural in the context of an artificial age, where the rhythms of manufacturing and machinery have taken over the natural rhythms of our lives. The pandemic is changing lifestyles, norms, and attitudes in many ways. We have adopted remote working practices, stayed at home, and engaged with technologies more often than ever. But more importantly, we have become increasingly aware of the importance of experiencing nature. We also witnessed a shift in social dynamics this past year, specifically through the surge in anti-Asian and anti-Asian American hate crimes. Hateful and racist rhetorics scapegoating Asians and Asian Americans for the pandemic were disseminated across media platforms. I myself cannot represent the whole of Asian and Asian American communities, and neither can this sculpture. But the addition of this sculpture on campus is, at the very least, one step forward. It prompts us to see beyond ethnicity, to appreciate diverse cultures and their heritage. It pushes us outside of the Western and Eurocentric view and invites us to reflect on our own biases. Being an international student in a foreign land, caught in the middle of the political conflicts between the US and China, and in the face of racial discrimination and exclusion, I see the addition of the sculpture as a gesture of solidarity. The sculpture reminds us of the Asians and Asian American experiences that have been erased, suppressed, and synthesized into a monolithic category defined under the gaze from the West. This sculpture acknowledges the differences between us by inviting us to confront a culture so different from that of the United States. And through art, we embrace these differences, we work with them, and celebrate them. When I approach the sculpture and contemplate about its glaze of stainless steel, I see myself and the world distorted and amalgamated. There is no crisp, clear divide between myself and the environment behind me. The sculpture creates a new realm of reality that redefines my existence in the world. It makes me question how my current reality is constructed, how stories always have biases, and who decides what stories to be told. On this busy campus, we easily take for granted the way we are living. This sculpture offers a moment of reflection that reminds us to scrutinize our presence in the world of nature, to recognize the intersectionality of our identities, and to introspect about our experiences. Thank you so much.
Now it's my privilege to introduce the president of Davidson College, Carol Quillin. Carol has been a thoughtful steward and heartfelt supporter for campus sculpture and all the arts at Davidson since the first day of her arrival. Carol, thank you for your mindful leadership, your clarity of purpose, and your aesthetic vision.
Thank you, Court, and thank you all so much for being here on this incredible day of celebration. I have little to add to the expert comments that you've heard from people who know art much better than I do. But what I can say about the sculpture program and those who have built it, Court, Leah, everybody involved in creating these sculptures, the Holland family who've made this addition to our sculpture program possible, I can say that the presence around our campus of challenging works of art invites us to perceive the world around us in new ways and to bring those new categories of perception to the fields of inquiry in which we are engaged as faculty members, as staff members, as students, so that we are constantly challenged and provided with opportunities to reframe what we've inherited and to imagine something different. And the presence of art on our campus, compelling art in which in this artificial rock number 19, in which you see yourself, in which never looks the same depending on the time of day or the light. You can't ever get the entire work of art in your head at the same time. You don't have the perspective or the capacity to embrace all of it at once. Whether this reminds us of home or of our own biases or of the relationship between natural objects and humanly created one and our responsibility to both. These works of art on our campus challenge us in ways that make us better students, better scholars, and better human beings. And I'm deeply grateful to all the folks at Davidson who've made that sculpture program possible. And today, we're so fortunate to be able to celebrate the installation of Zhan Wang's artificial rock number 19 in honor of Gill and Siri Holland, who have done so much for Davidson in their generous and abundant lives. Gill, who taught here for a long time friend to many of us, whose inspirational teaching and creativity exemplifies what we stand for. And our hope is that this beautiful work of art can provoke something like that creativity and inspiration in all of our community members. We're so grateful to you for what you've given to Davidson, Gill, and Siri, and to your family for making this incredible installation possible. Could you please join me in a round of applause? outside here in this beautiful plaza, honoring a family who has exemplified what Davidson stands for, celebrating the installation of a beautiful new work of art. I'm just so grateful and happy to be a part of this community. Thank you very much to all of you for being here, and thank you again to the Holland family for making this day and this beautiful addition to our campus possible. Thank you.
Finally, I'd like to invite to the microphone Gill Holland Jr., whose family's generosity and love of family brings us together this afternoon. Thank you, Gill, for your meaningful gift of this new sculpture and the ongoing inspiration and joy it will provide for generations.
Thanks, Mark. So I have very little to say. Those words were so beautiful by our artists and students and president. I do want to point out my sisters, Siri, Lise, and Astri, and their husbands, Barrett and Robb, who helped make this happen. And the biggest shout out goes to my wife, Augusta, because all great things happen with her. And really, I mean, you know, we heard, I'll never look at this Philosopher's Stone artificial rock the same way after hearing all those amazing comments, but I really just thought it was a great selfie opportunity for Instagram. And maybe we could attract even more amazing students to Davidson. And thanks to Leah and Dan, working with you guys is amazing. And Leah is an amazing curator, guys. We have a gem here with the galleries. And that's all I have to say. Thank you so much. And Mom and Dad, it's a metaphor too, because you guys are kind of a rock in our lives. And we also think you've been a rock for Davidson. And even though I didn't go to Davidson, I still get invited to the Davidson alumni parties in Louisville, Kentucky. So I feel like Davidson's a rock for all of us as well. Thank you.
That concludes this portion of the program. Thanks everybody for coming out today, and please stay, chat, enjoy some food, and don't forget to check out the video in the atrium.